Welcome back to James Bond Tuesdays, as we're going to be talking about the next film in the series with our new James Bond, Roger Moore, in his first film, Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die is a 1973 spy film and the 8th film in the James Bond series produced by Eon Productions. It was directed by Guy Hamilton, who previously directed Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever. Although the producers had approached Connery to return after his role in the previous Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever, he declined, sparking a search for a new actor to play Bond. Moore was signed for the lead role. The film is based on Ian Fleming's 1954 novel of the same name. Live and Let Die was released during the height of the blaxploitation era, and many blaxploitation archetypes and cliches are depicted in the film, including derogatory racial epithets, black gangsters, and pimp mobiles. It departs from the former plots of the James Bond films about megalomaniac supervillains and instead focuses on drug trafficking, a common theme of blaxploitation films of the period. It is set in African American cultural centers such as Harlem and New Orleans, as well as the Caribbean islands. It was also the first James Bond film featuring an African American Bond girl romantically involved with 007, Rosie Carver, who was played by Gloria Hendry. The film was a box office success, with having a much smaller budget of $41.1 million adjusted for inflation and making over 20.8 times its return, which is $855.7 million worldwide. The film is a mixed bag for me, as there are many aspects I do enjoy about this film, but with many of the different changes to the fresh style of the Bond series also causes many issues that lead the Bond films into some cheesy tactic elements that we had previously seen on Diamonds Are Forever. Let's start off with the positives here, and the first being Roger Moore as James Bond. Take over the role of the infamous fantastic Sean Connery is going to be a hard job to do, considering he set the standards on how James Bond should look and feel. What I like in this performance is Roger Moore seems to be doing his own thing, while still being cool and suave, changing tiny details like his outfits, drinks, and being more of a sarcastic Bond than Connery. He's not as good as Connery, but definitely much better than Lazenby. It was a solid performance that I hope we see progress as the films go on. The action sequences are loads of fun in this film. While many aspects of it are flat out ridiculous and the cheesiest of the series so far, it still manages to be entertaining and exciting, even though I don't feel on edge like I did in previous Bond films. This is a bummer, but I think with the oversaturation of the spy films during that era, it turned this film's tone to a more laid-back and silly fun movie. Tons of great practical effects with cool explosions to exciting hand-to-hand combat scenes and cool stuff. I love the use of creative gadgets and spy elements that seem to be in full effect in this one, leading to some of the best jokes in the film. There are a lot of creative ways the scenes are articulated and sets a Bond to force himself to use these awesome gadgets to his advantage. Its title song, Live and Let Die, was a wonderful choice, as it was a different take than we had seen previously. The song became extremely popular, being one of the favorite title songs by many fans. It was written by Paul and Linda McCartney and performed by their band Wings, and was also nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Song. I also enjoyed the small scale of it, like I did in the first film, Dr. No, which didn't have these mega supervillains trying to take over the world. The only critique about this is that the main villain's plans aren't the main conflict of the film, and feels like it takes a back burner like in the first film. This problem has also happened in Dr. No. It's still a breath of fresh air, trying something new and having fun doing so. The characters in this one are very memorable, with the characters of Solitaire, Mr. Big, Teehee, and Whisper. The performances are very solid and work so well in this film. They all felt important and had an interesting look and presence in the film. Humor is very well done, being the most hilarious movie so far in the series. I understand this film is going for a more comedic, silly tone, which does work in so many scenes with their very clever puns and jokes that I thought were executed well. Sometimes it can be very overbearing and just feel like a parody of itself, which is when the film fell apart at times. This film is filled with negatives. The first obvious one is this random sheriff that shows up later in the film that fans do enjoy, but for me, I was so annoyed by him. Like, he is a hilarious over-the-top cartoon character, but he gets too much screen time. Apparently, he shows up in the next film, which I am just so excited to see him in. I don't love all the campiness this film brings. Sometimes it is a little too silly. It makes me roll my eyes so much throughout. It has easily the worst death scene in the whole series.
Ha! Ha!
There's so many scenes I couldn't help myself laughing, and that is supposed to be intentional, but when the film has so much, it doesn't make for an interesting or exciting Bond film. Like I mentioned earlier, the villain's plan is much more interesting on a smaller scale that I wish we could have seen going into fruition, but nothing ever happens with it, so we never feel like there is ever a threat at any point in the film. There might be one scene where there's some threat, but after that, nothing. Throughout the film, there seems to be a bad guy on every corner, which is fine if the villains were more of a threat, but it gets annoying because there's never a sense of mystery to any new character we meet. Victoria Hendry plays one of the worst Bond girls yet. Her character Rose starts off as being an interesting new help to Bond, but ends up being so overdramatic, annoying, and an idiotic character that has horrendous acting. Gratefully, she's barely in the film, so it does not hurt the film all too much. Some of the action sequences are too long, especially in the longboat chase later in the film that had hardly any musical score while it was going on, so I didn't feel as excited or invested in the scene. Some of it is so ridiculous that I found myself laughing more than anything. These involve destroying every law of physics and just being too silly for my taste. I can see this factor growing on me with rewatches. This film is also very strange with some very weird and eccentric moments such as the voodoo elements. I found that sometimes it worked, but then it felt very absurd and I didn't buy into any of it, especially when these elements are weird plot devices. Final climatic action scenes are pretty bad. I wanted more thrilling and exciting action, but this is just so corny. I didn't mind this earlier in the film, but I think the third act should have honed down on it, and by then, I was sick of this. Overall, this is a solid entry to the franchise. It's definitely better than the last film that feels small in scale, but with a fresher take that is fun and entertaining even with all its issues. Roger Moore proves he is ready to take on the Bond franchise and be a new fun Bond. I'm going to give this film a 5 out of 10. Let me know, have you guys seen Live and Let Die? What are your thoughts on the film and where does it rank in your Bond rankings? I want to know all of that down below in the comment section. Next week, we are reviewing the second Moore film, The Man with the Golden Gun. So, definitely be on the lookout for that. Also, all the James Bond movies besides the Daniel Craig films and the last Pierce Brosnan film are all on Hulu, so you can decide to follow along and catch up on all these reviews. As always, I will see you all in the next video.